Come to the marketplace. Coming up in this bulletin, President John Mahama pitches Ghana as favorable investment destination in the region as he engages investors in Singapore, highlighting the country's stable economic environment, prudent returns on capital, and the 24-hour economy program.
Ghana is open for business 24 hours a day. We're aligning infrastructure incentives and skills so factories, farms, ports, and service centers can operate around the clock, shift safely and competitively.
Also, cedi is still best performing currency in Africa despite recent losses locally, as it now trades at more than 11 cedis to a dollar in terms of quote by commercial banks. Also, 9 institutions, including Tema Oil Refinery, produced buying company or Ghana Revenue Authority, 47 million cedis in taxes ending last year. We'll be doing some analysis on this issue or with tax experts here on the marketplace.
I'm sure what you are seeing here is related to only 2023. But if you get the indebtedness of the state institutions, they are far more than this. So it's a big challenge for us when it comes to revenue mobilization in the country.
My name is Winston Taki. Now let's bring you an update on how the Ghana cedi is performing against major global currencies. This is Ghana's marketplace. Now to our first business story. President John Mahama has played up Ghana as the best place for doing business in Africa. The president has also been highlighting the country's stable economic environment, prudent returns on investment, and government's 24-hour economy program. The president said this when he engaged investors in Singapore as part of his 3-day official visit to that country.
Africa is investable, and Ghana is your reliable gateway to that continent. Our economic strategy is anchored in productivity, exports, and jobs. We call it the 24-hour economy for a reason. Ghana is open for business 24 hours a day. We're aligning infrastructure incentives and skills so factories, farms, ports, and service centers can operate around the clock, shift safely and competitively. At the core of this is the Volta Economic Corridor, our most ambitious integrated development to date. The corridor has 4 pillars. The first, irrigating more than 2 million hectares for year-round farming. The second is agro-industrial parks for textiles, pharmaceuticals, and food processing. The fourth, tourism and hospitality along one of the world's greatest inland lakes. And the fifth, transforming the Volta Lake into a cost-efficient inland transport spine that reduces logistic costs and linking farm factories to the market. We're complementing all this with catalytic projects like the Legon Pharmaceutical Innovation Park, the Kumasi Machinery and Technology Park, the Akosombo and Japon Garments and Textiles Park, the Digital TVET Centers of Excellence, and Renewable Energy Corridors. Our Big Push program, infrastructure program, will accelerate construction of roads, power, and digital connectivity to crowd in private capital and unlock scale. Singapore's strength aligns perfectly with Africa's and Ghana's priorities. Our position is straightforward: a stable, reform-minded country connected to the African Continental Free Trade Area, a 24-hour economy that matches your needs for speed, reliability, and standards, a pipeline of investable projects in agribusiness, logistics, manufacturing, energy, digitalization, and tourism, and a partner that values integrity, predictability, and long-term relationships. In return, Ghana and Africa ask for what Singapore does best: practical collaboration, technology transfer, disciplined project execution, blended finance, and a shared commitment to skills development. When Singaporean and African firms collaborate, we will create jobs for our youth, we will diversify global supply chains, and drive growth in sustainability and prosperity.
Meanwhile, the cedi is still the best performing currency against the dollar in Africa. This is despite recent pressures that has moved the rate from 10 Ghana cedis 30 pesos to 11 cedis to the dollar. There is more in this report.
According to the Data Bank research report, we tracked the currencies of top economies in Africa. The Ghana cedi is still on top, ending last week. However, in terms of high level of appreciation against the dollar, it has lost some grounds and showing about 36% ending last week. A careful look at the report showed that other major currencies in Africa have also lost some grounds as well. It is not clear whether the recent performance of the dollar on the international market might have played a role. However, here in Ghana, the cedi has been under some sustained pressure against the dollar over the past 2 weeks. It has moved from 10 cedis 35 pesos to more than 11 cedis. Speaking with some of the commercial banks, the challenge has been influenced by limited dollar supply on the market by the regulator. But the Bank of Ghana defended its stance in terms of dollar support, rejecting arguments that it is to be blamed of the current depreciation of the local currency. It had argued that it is not in the practice of fixing the exchange rate. The central bank has told Joy Business that its market intervention will be strategic and not driven by sentiments.
Now, away from that, about 9 institutions, including state enterprises and some private firms, owe the Ghana Revenue Authority some significant amount of taxes. This was captured in the latest Auditor General's report. Edward Appenton Jamera is the Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority in charge of domestic tax revenue, and he has been engaging the ranking member on Public Accounts Committee, Samuel Atamios.
Madam Chair, they've exhausted the time limit, and as I indicated, one of the challenges we're facing as a revenue collecting institution has to do with indebtedness by the state institution. In fact, Madam Chair, what you are seeing here is related to only 2023. But if you get the indebtedness of the state institutions, they are far more than this. So it's a big challenge for us when it comes to revenue mobilization in the country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Please let the committee know what your challenges are.
Very well. We will submit to you the total indebtedness of the state institutions to the committee for you to assist us to how we can recover.
I'm not asking for you to submit the total indebtedness. I want to know what your challenges are so the committee can best assist.
The challenges has to do with cash flow from these state institutions. Some of them mentioned are having serious cash flow challenges. So as a result, they are unable to honor their tax obligations.
Let's now get on Zoom and speak to tax consultant Francis Timoboy for more insight on this development. Welcome to the marketplace. Now, can we blame the Ghana Revenue Authority for these challenges, or these institutions are trying to outsmart possibly the system?
The Ghana Revenue cannot be blamed at all. In fact, they have done the right thing. They have discharged their function under the law. Their duty is to raise the assessment, and then the institutions are supposed to pay. I think largely the institutions are to be blamed, because if you cite cash flow problems as the reason why you are failing to pay taxes, then that tells you how institutional management of cash flow is. They are not managing the cash flow very well. Why am I saying this? Let's take some of the taxes. For example, VAT. VAT is supposed to be borne by the consumer. So imagine graphic communication. you sell to people, and then you collect the VAT from we consumers. Now, if you collect it, you are just acting as an agent. You are supposed to pay that tax to the Ghana Revenue Authority. So if you fail to pay, then it means that you have misappropriated or you've misused the money. Again, take PAYE, employee taxes. The tax is you are supposed to just collect it as a trust and then pay it to government. So what is the issue that you say cash flow problems? Even if you have supplied to government and government is not paying you and there are delays, there are instances where the GRA will allow you to offset your tax liability against what government is owing you, so that at the end of the day, you will still pay your taxes. And these mechanisms exist. So if you cite cash flow issues as the problem, then you are not managing your cash flow very well. If it has to even, let's take, for example, corporate tax. Corporate tax is tied to profitability. So if you have not made profit, you don't pay tax at all. So I don't see why people will say cash flow. GRA may have a payment plan available, but we can't say cash flow is the reason why we are not, honoring the taxes that have been collected from people for which we are supposed to hand over to government.
All right, Mr. Tumoboy, now should the approach of collecting these taxes be reviewed by the Ghana Revenue Authority?
No, the law says that if you owe taxes, it is a debt due government, and for GRA they will be discharging their function. And the commissioner said that sometimes they have to add a human face, because sometimes you don't want to kill these institutions, they are core, and so you have to set a payment plan for them so that they can also survive and still be alive. What we can encourage is that taxes must be prioritized. But the GRA sometimes can go a very extreme end to garnish the bank account. What that means is that salaries cannot even be paid. But they look at the core functions of these state institutions and they say, okay, let's give them some time so that they pay off. I think that is fair enough in the tax law. It doesn't only apply to state institutions. Sometimes even private companies, they are given some payment plan. The only thing is that we just have to continue to enforce the laws and make sure that taxes are paid to the states and not misappropriated. And then we come and cite, cash flow problems as the reason why they cannot pay VAT that has been collected from customers.
Now, speaking about fairness, based on this information, is it fair to blame the authority for not meeting its target?
No, like I said, they have raised the assessment. So we can't blame the GRA for not doing their bit. GRA could have as well go to the extreme end to say we are closing down graphic communication. But this is a state institution, it's for us. And so it will be too harsh to go to that extent. And that is why they give them payment plan. Now that payment plan, the commissioner said that they've even exceeded that. If they believe that government owes them money, or for some subventions, they should go into agreement for a set-off with the Ghana Revenue Authority. It's been done before. So you are supposed to pay money to government, and then government also owes you. You set off. But to misappropriate it and say GRA should be blamed for not meeting their target, I think it would be unfair on the side of the GRA. GRA cannot take the whip to the very extreme end to close these institutions down, because they are key and they belong to the state. The best they can do is to give them some ample time and hoping that management of those institutions will work their cash flows to be able to settle their tax liabilities.
All right, Tumoboy, kindly stay on briefly. I'll be back with you on this particular development. Also, the Ghana Revenue Authority has announced that it will soon roll out some more measures aimed at simplifying the tax collection process for especially small businesses in the country. The move is part of measures to improve tax collections and address concerns of some medium-sized enterprises in the country. Anthony Sapon is the Commissioner General of the GRA. Now, with this narrative by the Commissioner, Tumoboy, I want to get from you, what do you make of the attempt to possibly restructure or modify the tax system for SMEs in the country?
I think is the way to go, because, and we commend the GRA for doing that. We have within the law, we call something modified taxation for the past 10 years. But the law was put in, the provision was put in our tax law 2015. But for some reason, we're not able to implement it. Trust me, the complex tax system that we use for multinationals cannot be used for SMEs. And so there's the need for us to have a simplified approach, a more flexible one that suits the size of their business. So I think it's a very innovative way to ensure that the informal sector also pays their fair share of the taxes. You remember the Statistical Service came with a report that says that businesses in Ghana, about 90% of them are SMEs. So if these people cannot, sometimes keep proper records and match with these multinationals, you need a very simple tax system that will help them manage their tax. So I'm happy this is pursued, and hopefully the gains may not come immediately, but trust me, in the future we will realize the gains from the informal sector.
Thank you very much, Francis Timoboy, for speaking to us here on the marketplace. In other developments, some supply challenges with petrol that hit the market last week has been resolved. This is what we have picked up from some players in the oil business in the country. We have this in this report.
This issue, we understand, had come about due to difficulties by some bulk oil distribution firms in loading this kind of products at the country's port. These bulk oil distribution firms were unable to meet the timelines for getting the product at the port. The development impacted negatively on the stocks and supply of PMS, or call it Petrol. The development impacted negatively on the stocks and supplies when it comes to PMS, or call it Petrol. The development forced some of the oil marketing companies to increase the price of petrol, even though some of them were not going to go up by that margin. However, we understand that supplies have picked up strongly over the weekend, a move that has helped the situation to normalize. We are also learning that some importers and distributors that brought in too much diesel are now switching to import petrol to beef up reserves in terms of stocks.
We have more business update for you right after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the marketplace. My name is Winston Taki. Now to more news. Chief Advisor to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Professor Jerry Samuel Yakuma, has asserted that one of the proposed amendments on the mineral and mining policy of Ghana, for which they are seeking the support of stakeholders, is a reduction of the 30-year lease granted to mining companies. Speaking at a consultative meeting with members of the Regional House of Chiefs and Queen Mothers, he stated that a 30-year lease period granted mining companies without recourse to current happenings makes the country to lose loss of revenue. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
As part of the Mineral Commission's board consultation with stakeholders on the review of the country's mineral and mining policy, members of the review committee met with members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs. The aim of the meeting is to deliberate on some proposed amendments to some mining acts which has been in existence for decades. The review comes at a crucial time for Ghana's mining sector, which is facing a mix of long-standing regulatory challenges and emerging global realities such as climate change, the energy transition, and the increasing importance of critical minerals. Chairman of the Mining Policy Review Committee, Benjamin Ayi, said a technical committee set up has put in place proposals which are seeking the inputs of the chiefs and queen mothers from the region for them to fashion out workable policies that will bring sustainable development for the country through mining.
We are looking at a review of the policy, broad range of it, to bring it up to standard as far as particularly ESG standards, environmental, social, and governance standards are concerned, and also enhancing the engagement between government and other key stakeholders, notably traditional authorities, because this is our 16th engagement with the regional houses of chiefs. We've met all the regional houses of chiefs. They are very key stakeholders, so our goal is to ensure that we enhance the interaction between them and government to manage this key natural resource that we have. The law, again, there are aspects of it that it is proposed that we change, all with that same goal of ensuring that we optimize the development that is possible from mining and its operations in Ghana.
Chief Advisor to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Professor Jerry Samuel Yakuma, noted that two key proposed amendments that came up was a 30-year lease granted to mining companies who are seeking a reduction.
30 years is a whole generation, and now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. It's a lot of artificial intelligence and so many other technological advancements. So the time that we used to do things has changed drastically. We do things faster. So to give a mine 30-year lease without changing, things according to changes that are happening makes us lose a lot of revenue. So one of the things that this engagement seeks to do, is to be able to get the buy-in from stakeholders to understand or to help us push the agenda to reduce the 30 years to an acceptable, reconcilable, number of years, so that there will be a win-win for everybody.
Another is the development agreement for communities who change on corporate social responsibility.
The mines will have to do it, and they will do it with the communities, buying into what they want to do. It will no longer be a voluntary thing. If you want to do any kind of community development, we get the communities looking at the issues and agreeing to it, and then also a certain percentage of revenue will be used to do such things so that the communities will develop.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
That's from Rafik Salam, and that's all for today's edition of The Marketplace. Now, for more business insight, visit myjoyonline.com. The 24-hour economy takes center stage as Ghana costs global capital. Ghana-Singapore trade crosses $215 million. Mahama eyes billion-dollar growth. As you can see, several stories there, insightful indeed, and up-to-date analysis right on our YouTube page as well. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Have a good business day. Bye-bye.